Hey everybody, welcome back to the shed. It's still cold. It's still winter in Wisconsin. It's been -10 the past week and it's terrible, but we're surviving. I'm bringing you some studio talk here from wintry Wisconsin. I'm going to be giving you my thoughts and opinions on this SSL UF8. Now, a couple of months ago, I actually changed this desk setup quite a bit. I had a full-size console on here, and actually over the past 5 years, I've always had some form of DAW controller and fader work surface here. For the first time in a long time, I went to go mix a song, and I got to the automation stage, and I realized, dang, I don't have any faders. And I've been so used to having physical faders to ride my, delay sends, my reverb sends, get that bus volume automation going in the track and just, mix the track with physical faders. And I didn't realize how much faders were important to me. So I knew I had to find a new solution here for the desk. And a couple of weeks ago, I picked up this UF1, this UF8. After doing a whole bunch of research myself, I thought this was going to be the perfect combo for Studio One and my workflow. So now I get to tell you what I found out. I'm gonna give you my pros and cons, the things that I think that are really cool about this unit, and the things that absolutely frustrate me. Okay, let's get right into this UF8 and my workflow. Okay, before I pull you in super close to this setup, I wanted to explain a couple of things that are very important to me and my workflow. This should give you a better understanding of why I'm talking about the things that I'm talking about. So in previous iterations of this desk, I had my keyboard actually up on some riser blocks, and then I had this soft tube console 1 Mark II right here, right in front of me, and then I had a fader port 8 to my left. So I had transport controls, I had my faders over here, I had all of my channel strip controls right in front of me because that's kind of what I was doing the most of, or so I thought. And the keyboard was just kind of behind it because the keyboard should kind of be a secondary thought here in the mixing process. Then I had a PreSonus Studio Live 24, which was just dead center in the desk. I had a bunch of faders right in front of me. It was awesome because it really felt like a live console, and it gave me like all of my faders and channels right in front of me. I was able to get right in the mix. The downside was that I lost my console 1. It wasn't right in front of me anymore, so whenever I went to go make changes on each channel, I actually had it on a stand to my left, and it wasn't quite as intuitive, and the buttons and things on the PreSonus didn't really, fill the same hole that the full channel strip did. In a perfect world, I would take the bottom half of the Studio Live desk with all of its faders and functions and then just stick a console 1 on top of it for my channel strip, and it would really feel like a normal digital live console, and I feel like the workflow would be the most optimized for me that way. Now fast forward to today. So I am very accustomed now to working on live sound consoles. So I usually have faders right in front of me, and then all of my channel strip control and control of each, function of the console is usually on like an upper portion. So my goal with this setup here is to have faders down below so I can page through, I have my fader control, and then I've actually replaced my giant 35-inch screen with a touch screen. So now I can pull up my console, I can open a plugin, I can click a channel, open the channel strip, and go right to town editing things, with my touchscreen just like I would in the live sound world. If you know about this UF8, you also know that it has this focus mode, and my idea there was the touch and turn principle, where you touch something and you turn the knob, and now I'm adjusting a parameter. So there are two main goals that are very important to me, and those goals kind of have like sub-goals that I'll talk about, but those two goals are the placement of the controls and how memorable they are, how much you can build muscle memory on those controls, and then number 2 is how fast can I do something. What I learned from having the fader port on my left is that I want the transport controls on my left hand. So looking at something like the fader port 16 where the transport controls are on the right and if I want my faders right in front of me, I don't want the transport controls on my right hand because it causes me to take my hand off the mouse if I'm kind of doing editing. A lot of times when I'm in edit mode, I got my mouse, I'm selecting events, I'm playing, pausing, I'm adjusting Melodyne, I'm making edits, listening to little transients, whatever I'm doing. I'm usually kind of like my right hand is living on the mouse, my left hand is living on these transport controls, and maybe some hotkeys like keyboard shortcuts, or the Stream Deck is great too. I've made some pages for some editing functions. So having the transport controls on my left side was crucial for me. The second thing that I learned that I wanted was faders right in front of me. I had the fader port 8 to my left before. That was cool, but once I put the full-size console on this desk, having the faders right in front of me was like the best thing ever, and I don't know honestly how I lived without having the faders right in front of me all along. That allows me to just see all my channels dead center. I can also then read the screens, the scribble strips a lot better, and the workflow just feels more centralized. The third thing that I know that I need is plugin control. I went with the UF8 because it had these, 8 encoders on here that I could program to some plugins. I thought that would be cool. And on top of that, I have the touchscreen right in front of me. I was hoping to be able to kind of open my channels, work on what I need to work on, and move on. While you're seeing an overview of the desk here, this is a great time to go over some key functions of the UF8 that I do enjoy. Number one is the quick keys. These keys allow you to program sort of like hotkeys that you'll use a lot. So like I'm always opening and closing this mix window. And then number 3 here is save, just saves the project. And you can make these, do whatever you want in the DAW, just like you can with the rest of these soft keys here at the top. You have 6 pages of these soft keys. You can see the colors and lights change a little bit here from far away. I have pages set up to open my plugin control, so if I do have a plugin open and it's a plugin that I have mapped to the knobs, these knobs will control functions. I also have my sends, so I can hit send, flip my faders. Now I'm in send mode. Some other things I have here are just some basic edit functions like Shift, Control, Alt. I actually had my keyboard off to the side for a while, and having like the Shift and some basic keyboard keys I just have here. Undo, the different edit tools, tool number 1, tool number 2, for cutting the different, or the blade tool. Duplicate, track, delete, just a lot of basic controls. Adding a layer when I'm doing takes, having like a recording. You can have these 6 screens populated with functions that you're going to use at different stages of your workflow. Some other things, the faders do feel really nice on this unit. They're, they feel high quality. They feel like working on a professional live sound console. Now, obviously, you have, the basic functions, solo, mute, all that stuff. You can select channels. That's all cool. I got my automation buttons down here, so as I'm working, okay, I want to automate the kick. I select it, I turn on touch or write or whatever, and now I'm automating the kick channel. Cool. You have the send plugin page, and the title makes more sense in SSL 360 mode, but these are just more soft keys you can program to do things. So, for example, button number 1, I have jump back to my main layer of channels. Number 2 is programs to spill my buses. So now I'm just working on my buses, so that's really nice. Number 4 is my effects returns. So when I'm automating my reverb returns and things like that, I have all my faders right there. I can jump back to my main audio tracks and we're all good to go. So maybe now you can see how the workflow would be. I'd be mixing along here and open my mixer. I can find a channel I want to work on and I click on it. I have this set up so I can open my channel strip and it will open, the plugins on the channel. I can do my touch and turn, make my adjustments that I want to make, and then go ahead and close my channel. Let's say I want to click a channel and add a plugin to it. I have the plugin button set up to do that. It opens the plugin browser, and let's say we want F6 here. So boom, now we have F6. I can start going to work right away with my touch screen. Maybe I got to adjust my Q value, and I want to use the knob for that. Touch and turn, super fun. A lot of the workflow has been working really well in those aspects. All right, I'm going to bring you in a little closer here, and I'm going to get into some of the details on why things are cool or almost cool and why things are frustrating. All right, I'm gonna see if I can hold this camera in the right place, so forgive me if things aren't perfectly centered here, but we're just gonna go for it. All right, we're gonna do a little handheld camera action, so forgive me if this isn't perfect. The first thing you may have noticed is that we don't have corresponding channel colors. And this is a known problem with the Mackie protocol that these units use. A lot of the units use Mackie protocol, and they just, color is not something that is in the protocol. And this is critical for my workflow, because if I just want to use the controller and not want to, look at the screen too much, I want to be able to scroll through my channels here and bank through, and I want to find my bass tracks. Well, I know my bass tracks are purple, but I can't see any purple. So I actually have to read every, scribble strip, and not that I can't read, but it just takes longer for me to recognize that this is my bass here as I'm paging through. And especially when you're in this sort of channel select mode and all these faders are flying everywhere, it's really cool, but it's like, I can't really see, what's happening here. So you don't get color unless you use the 360 plugin, but we'll go over that in a second. The other thing that you don't get with this mode is channel select. So if I select a channel on the screen, let's say, my kick drum again, select that channel, well, nothing happened here. It does select on here, but you have to go find it. So I have to page over until I find that light here, and there's my kick drum. So that is just, one more step that I have to do, and it just slows down the workflow. And this efficiency, anything that breaks the flow state in terms of, when I'm working here is terrible. It just throws me for a loop. It's like putting a stick in a bicycle wheel. It's terrible. And what those things also do is they make me want to use this controller less and just go back to the screen and the mouse and keyboard. The other frustrating thing about MCU is when I do go to my sends, right, and I spill my sends onto these V-pots, that's cool and all, but I don't want sends on V-pots, I want sends on fader. So you have to flip the faders, sort of like an X32 if you ever used one, and you have to spill your sends onto the faders. This is cool if I'm working on one channel, but if I want to send, reverb on like a whole bunch of drum tracks, sort of like a live sound console where you hit your reverb bus and you see all the channels and how much, of each channel is going to each bus, you would have to hit sends again. Now it shows the reverbs. But look, I lose my channel names, so I don't know which channel these are that I'm sending reverb to, unless I look at the screen and kind of figure out which faders are which, and it's just not intuitive. This should have the channel name, or at least the colors, or be able to see what I'm sending to the reverb. And then you have to page through again, send to go to plate and delay and all the things you want to go to. So, and to get back, you not only have to unflip your faders, but then you have to like hit the pan button to get back to like all of the normal channel names. It's kind of weird, but that's kind of like a home button. You can't just hit send again to take you back. The other thing about these soft keys is that you can color code them, but that gets to be a little deceiving because now my eyes think that these colors correspond with the channels showing up, so it's kind of a double-edged sword there. Now you might think you can set these send plugin buttons up to specific sends, right? So you'd hit send 1 and then it would bring up your effects send 1. Well, that's just not the case. In the SSL 360 software, I can show you here, you cannot, there's no selection for, let's see, we go to the send. There's no selection for a specific send. It's just send. There are no, I'm not going to go through everything here, but there are no options for numeric sends. It's just the send button. So that's a little bit frustrating and deceiving because I wish I could just set each one of these up to each plugin send. So let's jump over to the SSL 360 plugin mixer mode, because I know you all are screaming at me in the comments like, dude, you can get colors and you can get the send buttons and all that stuff in the 360 plugin mode. So what that means, for those of you who don't know, is we have to put the SSL 360 link plugin on every track, which is not uncommon now with like, the Softtube Console 1 system, and I'm sure there are others, but you basically, put this plugin on each track, and that allows the UF8 to communicate to the DAW and vice versa. And this gives you more information. So I have layer 3 here set as the 360 mode. And look at that. We get channel colors, and I can find things, and that's super cool, right? I should be like really happy now. And this is cool. I will say the colors are sweet, having that and being able to also select a channel that's not showing. You know, if I click, I'll just click one up here and you can watch. This does flip and move over to that channel. This is awesome. This is exactly how I would want the controller to work. But there are some major caveats here. First of all, the thing that I love so much about this with the soft keys and having these quick keys, you know, to open my mixer. Well, guess what? That's gone. I cannot use my quick keys anymore. I don't even know what this is doing. This second layer, I don't know if this is like something in the, you know, SSL plugin. It doesn't matter. I don't care. I don't get my quick buttons anymore to open the mixer. Obviously, I can just use my touchscreen or the Stream Deck, but the basic function of this and having that luxury is now gone. Same goes with these upper soft keys. Now, it does give you some plugin control parameters, but this is for specifically the SSL plugins. But I lose all of my pages of my soft keys that I had, and they get replaced with these controls that I'm not going to use because I don't have the channel strip plugin. I want my soft key controls that I spent all this time programming. Gosh darn it. On a positive note, we do get the sends per channel function. I do have to fader flip, but now I'm on send 1, send 2, send 3, send 4, etc. So these buttons do work as expected. I do still have to hit that fader flip, but not the end of the world. But what's this down here? My automation buttons are gone. I don't have automation buttons anymore. Yes, I have a UF1. Yes, I can hit shift and now I have my automation here. But if you didn't buy this and this together, you're SOL. You get no automation buttons anymore in this 360 plugin mixer mode. Why? Why SSL would you do that? And another strike here is my touch and turn workflow is also gone. I can no longer access focus mode and use this knob as my touch and turn for my channels. This is ridiculous. The list goes on. Let's say I'm in the normal DAW mode, the Mackie mode with no colors, and you're in ancient times, right? And I'm working, and I have some channels soloed up, and I'm working, and I want a solo clear. Well, this is a cool handy button here. I don't know why this shift find button is the solo clear, but it's the solo clear in Mackie mode, and it works well. And that is another thing that is critical to my workflow is I want to be able to solo up a couple of buses or a couple channels and clear my solo. Well, guess what? In the plugin 360 mode, that goes away. I can solo up these channels and hit this button, and it does nothing. I can't, so there's no programmable buttons on this anymore in the SSL 360 plugin mode. I'm telling you that right now. You lose all of the customization that you are said to get with this controller if you dive into their proprietary software, which they kind of require you to use because otherwise you don't get colors. As you can tell, I am a little frustrated with this workflow in this unit. It is highly annoying that if I dive into their plugin and use it the way that they've intended it, I lose half of the advertised functions. I don't get my soft keys. I don't get programmable buttons over here. My automation buttons are gone. Why? Why, SSL, would you do this? Please, if you're listening, SSL, figure out how to integrate both of these functions into your plugin mixer mode so we get colors. Or please write your own protocol so that in Mackie mode we get the colors and you can figure out how to communicate with the DAWs and all that stuff. I know you have the money and the resources and the people to do it. Please figure it out. You're selling this premium controller. It feels awesome. It looks awesome. I mean, look at this setup here, guys. Look at this setup here. It's definitely sick, but the fact that I just can't get the functionality that you're advertising in a streamlined way is just killing me. One last thing to mention too in this 360 plugin mixer mode. You know how I mentioned before how I'm getting, I'm able to jump over here to my buses and I can filter out just my buses, which is a critical part of my workflow. When I'm here recording in the studio with a band and, the band says, "Hey, can we mute the guitars?" Well, I don't want to have to go through each channel and mute every guitar. I just want to pop to my buses and mute the guitar bus, right? Or the drum bus or whatever it may be. And jumping to my buses is not only critical to my recording workflow and just kind of making things easy, it's also critical to my mixing workflow because I want to be able to jump over to my buses and grab some automation and automate, start working on my bus automation instead of having to like, oh my God, I have to scroll all the way over to my buses. Like, I can do that, yes, but the functionality should be there to filter my buses, filter my effects returns. These are basic functions that live consoles have. There's pages that are specifically for these things, or you can customize pages for those things, and this just can't do it when you're in plugin mixer mode. Once again, you're in their proprietary SSL 360 link software. If there's anything in this video, by the way, that I've gone over that I'm missing, because I have only had these for a couple of weeks, please comment below if there are solutions to these. They definitely might help me sway my opinion and my current feeling on keeping this unit. But so far for Studio One, by the way, this is Studio One Pro 7. These are the current workflow grievances that I have when it comes to the UF8. Overall, I really like the unit in terms of how it looks, how it feels. It's, the build quality is great. The functions are almost there. I can get around. There are workarounds to some of these problems that I've explained here. But for me, it's just not there. I shouldn't have to jump back and forth between layers to get specific functions out of this desk. The buttons are there. They're labeled SSL. Please just make the functions do what they say they're going to do, especially in your own plugin. Come on. Why do I lose my automation keys? Why do I lose the focus mode that you've so advertised greatly when I'm in your own plugin? This is just, to me, it's a little bit unacceptable. You guys have a great product here. It's a great build. It's a great look, but the software just needs a little work. Okay, so what are my final thoughts about this unit? As you can see, a lot of things are really cool. A lot of things are highly frustrating to me, especially with the way that I work. Overall, the unit, it feels really nice and I really want to love it. Unfortunately, I think there are too many setbacks for me to maybe keep the unit. I may try the offering from Softtube. I might be looking at the Fader Mark III. I've had the Console 1 Mark II for a while, so if I go that route, I'll probably get the Mark III channel as well. But man, I'm really disappointed that these companies in 2025 have still not found a way to get around the MCU protocol and write their own. Honestly, the best experience that I've had so far with like the integration was just having the PreSonus controllers, whether it was the Faderport 8 or the full-size desk. The channel colors came through, the screens sucked, but at least they worked. All of my basic functions and needs were there. I was able to get to my buses, I was able to jump to my effect sends. With that being said, I think I'm still in the search here for the perfect setup that's going to perfectly suit my workflow. I know something like this may not exist to the exact specifications that I want, but I'm definitely trying to get closer than this. So we'll see what the future holds. I really hope this video was informative and gave you some insight about the UF8 that you may not have known before, or maybe just reinforce some other stuff you were watching. If you haven't yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you're looking to see where this goes, or maybe if you just want to see more videos about studio stuff or live sound. If y'all have any other questions or comments or similar frustrations that you want to share with me in the comments below, I love chatting with y'all. I love answering questions if I can. That's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time, peace.